Rightio, big warm welcome to today's Altcoin Bible game. Let's crack straight in. Bitcoin just starting to struggle a little bit, or at least just go a bit sideways above 30,000. I don't mind that at all. Most altcoins already had a bit of a run, and now they're all pulling back. So there are really none that look tremendously good right now. And what I'm going to show you today is probably more of my insights around what to look for in terms of those entry points for these altcoins that are looking better. So relative strength is what you want to be looking for that happened prior to this move. And they'll likely have those shallower pullbacks, almost like that higher-low structure as we go higher. So I'm going to show you that today. And of course, this is a Bitcoin market. The king is leading. So the Bitcoin chart is what you want to be focused on. And I think it's going to suck all the oxygen out of the altcoins over this next little phase. So just be aware of that. That's how the liquidity flows generally work. This isn't a full-on bull market. Liquidity is just not here. And liquidity, when I talk about that, I just mean volumes. I mean, new participants, new investors coming in. We've got the big institutional investors here going through and likely going through Bitcoin, Ethereum, maybe a couple of others. But right now, there's just not a lot of speculation in the market. So that's the main point I want to get across. Okay, so today's quote-unquote cherry ripe is Arbitrum. And this very popular layer 2 token has been just on a bit of a tear. But like most altcoins that have looked reasonably good over the last few weeks, they're all grinding into a consolidation pattern, and only a few of them have actually broken out of that consolidation pattern. So I just wanted to show you this here in terms of this, I guess, falling channel, falling wedge type pattern, flag, if you will. On the 4 hour, at least, it was grinding underneath this 200 moving average, climbed back above it, then got above the 20. Then it conquered this key volume support. And it is crucial because it was this sort of area over here. You can just see how much chop was in there. And then once it did break here, it had the big fall down, just careered down, big gap in volume, came down to this area here, and then shopped around in this region. So that's how you can very clearly see ranges on where price tends to gravitate towards and how it can kind of teleport up or down. Now, why I'm still bullish on Arbitrum here is, well, I mean, the RSI is still in a nice type median upper point area, which is good. Stock RSI is cooling off. That's what we want to see. I'm actually reasonably bearish in the shorter term on Arbitrum, but if we're forecasting out maybe over the next week or so, once Arbitrum has this cooling off period, potentially in this zone here, all through here, that's when the liquidity is being retaken from this big block of orders that will be just sitting there, and that's what gives these cryptos and assets rocket fuel to continue on higher, especially in that trading sense. So that's what I wanted to get across, guys. A full retracement to potentially the top of this pattern is absolutely on the cards, but what I am looking for is, just in very simple terms, is some cool, clean moving averages. This over here looks very extended. You can see it's been sold into quite a bit here with these wicks. The RSI is now trending down in that region. We've had the breakdown here of potentially that constructive pennant that was trying to build there. We had the breakdown. Now we're in this region here. I want to see us, well, in fact, I think with just because there's no volume support where we are at the moment, this just looks a bit thin. So down here, I fully expect this region to get tested out. So come in here and test this 20 moving averages blue line here. But for mine, I think it cuts a little bit deeper just to scare a few people. So come maybe down to this horizontal at this volume support. So just a little bit lower, maybe dips into that region, which would be around that 1.5, that nice clean 1.15 and 1.16, that type of region, all in here, essentially. And if it loses this region here, well, there's a ton of volume in here. So if there's a big flush on Bitcoin below 30,000, it probably gets to maybe the 50 down here. But broadly, this is that level which I don't think it gets through, and that's 111. But if it does, then have orders lower. But so far, this block is a fairly good support point. So it's all about layering in those bids if you're looking to move through here. I know I'm very interested, especially in Arbitrum, because the overall trend is higher. And if you just zoom out a little bit, this is the 4 hour, but if you go to the daily, you can very much see it, but you can just see there, the trend is up. So these lower highs moving higher, and then these higher highs snagging higher. So two higher highs, so this one here, this one's higher than the last, these higher lows just moving up through here, and it's careering up nicely. So that is a beautiful longer term trend. And if you want to see, again, it's very easy to plot. You just look for these liquidity zones, moving averages, and generally price just bounces off them, or at least gets a bit sticky there. It doesn't mean it stops there, but that's what you want to look for in terms of looking for those areas of value, and I'm very interested in that. So cherry ripe for me. I don't think this drops more than 3%. 3% is probably it. So that type of region is good area of value. All right, moving on to my one to watch, and that would be stacks. So Stacks has been hugely, hugely popular of late because of its layer 2 potential on top of Bitcoin. And I'm all for any narrative that's on top of Bitcoin right now, because you heard what I said at the start. Bitcoin is the narrative right now. It's where all the capital's concentrated. It is king. It's the market leader. So we have to look there. And if we're looking at Stacks, look at this beautiful downtrend here in Stacks, and that was broken. See this line, the white line here, finally breached here, came back down, but the key break was here. On top of that, 200 on the daily. So this is the daily, not the 4 hours. So it gives you a bit more data. You can see the 20, the blue line snaking route, used the 200 and the 20 as that platform, ripped through the 50, ripped through the 100, and now it's in this lovely consolidation band. Now, I've seen a bit of commentary in some of the groups thinking that this is pretty good value for Stacks. Look, I think this is a decent area to start looking, but if you want to be that serious, sophisticated investor and pick apart these markets and find those, high areas of value entry, because you could enter here, buy here, but if you're not looking at the charts, what's on the technical side of things, you could be buying here, but still you could have been, it probably gets another haircut of 10% down here. And the reason for that is just what I've just described. It's lost the 100 here. It's lost this volume support here, it has. So it lost to that 0.71. So that's a point where you really want to risk off. So when you see a key level like that, and it's perfectly lined up with the volume, bang, 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 and then break, close beneath it on the daily. And this should close beneath it on the daily. This to me looks prime because there's a volume gap here. It's going to come down to this area here, and that's at around about 63 cents, 64 cents. But generally, these things go into places you don't think they will and stop sooner or stop a bit later. It's just generally how markets work, try and flush as many people out as possible. But I'm looking for confluence here. You've got the 20 and you've got the 50 moving averages here. You've also got huge volume support in this region. So, if you get 64, 63 cents, I think you're doing really well. And this would be, if we go there, if you want to overlay the Fibonacci retracement. So I didn't say already, this is my one to watch because I'm bullish on it, but I still think this is the areas where you need to pay attention to. So similar to Arbitrum, could get to the 0.618 at 60 cents, sure. But this volume support is going to provide some headaches for sellers, and buyers are going to step in there as well. They're going to step in at 0.66. I think it's going to be a really strong area, but it doesn't mean once it comes down, it won't do something like this. Chop and then come back down, then retest these lows on a second hit. Could go a bit lower, but generally I think this 200 down here is going to hold it up. This volume is going to hold it up. These are all beautiful entry zones in my view for 66, 65, 64, that kind of region. I don't like it up here. It's just sort of hanging in this gap, and there's just oxygen. So I think it's going to drop down. That would kind of line up with this little cluster here as well. So guys, I think that's how I'm looking. Also right here, the RSI is just moving downwards. Stock RSI is only moving downwards. So yeah, this is how you pick apart a chart and look for those key areas of value if you're looking to those shorter midterm trades. Even if you're looking to layer in for those longer dollar cost averages or those correction buys, dip buys, these are the kind of things you want to look for. And it's pretty carefree. You can set these orders, you can step away, and it can start to hit your levels when you're away and just have your alerts fire off. Really good way of doing it. All right, let's move on to the danger zone. This is the fun part for me. I don't know why today. I just really want to do the danger zone. We look at Shib Inu. So congrats to anyone who bought down in this region. I know I nibbled down, I think it's 600, all those zeros and 600 around that. And since then it came up all these, 40% move, fantastic. And this is this is all about those volume levels. This cluster here before that massive breakdown, where's Shiba Inu come back to? That huge cluster zone here. And it is massively struggling beneath, this is the 4 hour, but beneath the 200 on the 4 hour, the 20, the 50, it's lost all of them in that cluster. And I hate that. If I was looking to short this, that's the perfect kind of setup because it's tried to come back up, but it's actually not even being able to reach the pattern above. There's a bit of retesting here, but essentially kind of wants to do something like that. And I see, this here, the 100,724 is probably a good zone at this sort of block here. But this is going to get a little bit dicey for Shib, and it's going to have to, grind out through this area before it starts to go back. And look at that RSI. It's just all down. Stock RSI just looks abysmal. It does look like it's reset down the bottom there, but it doesn't mean it can't hang there for the next little while. And on the 4 hour, I think Shib can actually get a bit lower here. So really want to see that flush out. But for mine, yeah, Shiba Inu doesn't look too flash here. It's just going to try and grind out a bottom before it can come out. So that's how I see the old Shib. But core zones of value, probably around that 676 mark, 708, that kind of area. And then your upside target's probably 785, 841. So that's what I'm looking for there. Now, I wanted to bring this to your attention as well, because I know I've been very bullish on Litecoin of late. and with the halving coming up. And I still am as well. I still think it does get a halving pump at some point, and I thought this might have been the start of it, chopping through and moving through here. However, I have to bring up, and sometimes you really need to test your bias, because I really hate what Litecoin's doing here. The broader pattern here is this sort of ascending wedge. So price has been, in fact, let me go to the daily. Oh, no, that's fine. We'll just go there. So you can see price has just kind of been oscillating in between this area. It's dropped down a few times in those key areas of value. We climb back into the pattern, which is great. But on the 4 hour, what it's kind of doing right now is it's forming a inverse, not an inverse, just a plain old head and shoulders. So here we had the run up. We actually had the trend break here, which I love. Again, I thought that was going to move up, but it got rejected off the 20, rejected again underneath, and it's come back down to this crucial spot. I hate this because it's hugging, it's just getting weaker and weaker and weaker at this volume, at this core trend line. Granted, it has some moving average beneath it. So any drop might be short and fleeting, but this is the kind of stuff you want to look for, guys, in terms of this, because if I just draw a head and shoulders pattern, probably just saw it. Head and shoulders. Okay, so if I were to draw this, and again, this might be not the technically most correct way of drawing a head and shoulders pattern, but you can kind of actually, it probably is more that there, but you can see there, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and it's all happening there. And generally when you see that, it's got a little bit of an impulse, the harder impulse that's reached its peak, and then the fall away, and the RSI is just getting killed. So here, there is no strength here that I'm seeing, and I think this has a pretty clear path down to maybe 82 before another, impulse up. But if we bring the, let's say, the Fibonacci retracement here, 0.5, see a lot of confluence of support at 85. So that's probably a really good value zone for mine. Like I said, guys, I don't expect this to go too deep, but the moving averages and levels in that area are probably pretty good. But this here could get to 82 as well, with the moving averages starting to snake up. But just broadly, that's what I'm looking for. All right, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this altcoin Bible. You have enjoyed that analysis. Stay tuned for next week's episode, and have a great day. Bye.